To steal from the Empire? You just walk in like you belong.
Welcome back to WD Magicast for a week of September 18th, 2022. This is episode 195. WD Magicast, the show about the mouse, the Marvels, the galaxy, and beyond. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. And this week's show, Dave, Isaac, and I discuss the first 3 episodes of Andor. Also, I get their take on She-Hulk, what they think of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and kind of their general feel of the things. We'll be back after these words from our friends and sponsors. And now, on with the show.
One of the many anticipated shows coming to Disney Plus is now upon us. One of the Star Wars franchises that, spinning off of the solo story of, not Solo, but Rogue One, Andor has now debuted with a 3 Power Punch episode launch on Disney Plus. It's very different. It's very surreal, and it's very much worth talking about. And to be able to do this, I've had to bring on someone that may have sparked a rebellion or two in his lifetime, but is very popular, and the trade federations are looking out for him. Isaac, welcome back. How you doing?
Not bad. Good morning, good afternoon to good night, anybody that is on this planet, and thank you for having me back on this podcast, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Always my pleasure. Always my pleasure. And because there's 3 episodes, so we need to do this in 3s just to stay in balance and one with the Force. We had to bring on someone who may or may not have caused a complete shutdown and total destruction of a mining facility on a remote planet where only children seem to live. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm okay, Matthew. Thank you for having me once again.
Absolutely. It's great. It's great to be here with everybody. It's great to be talking Star Wars. It's great to be talking in general. A big apology to the listeners out there that we're expecting this episode on a Wednesday and you are now getting on a Saturday because there's 3 episodes all running 35 plus minutes long, and we have lives. It takes time for us to be able to. 1 episode, we could do it. 2 episodes, we could most likely do it. 3 episodes, give us some time. We will get there. And you gave us some time. We are there, so let's talk about it. I think we should first, actually, I haven't had you guys on talking. I've been talking to Matt about She-Hulk. I want to talk to you guys about She-Hulk. The listeners know where I stand. I've been really enjoying the show. Isaac, what is your take? You are our Marvel guru. What is your take on the She-Hulk Attorney at Law?
Okay. So with She-Hulk, All right. I think I'm really in the middle of the show for the episodes that I have watched. I think the show has I've been kind of in the middle. I know that this for people that have been in the internet and have read comments, I know people have said some things about the show. Other people have enjoyed it. Other people have not been so much. So I think I've kind of been in the middle in terms of how I watched the show. Um, I think in terms of writing of the show, I think the jokes overall are not, in terms of concept and how they are positioned. I don't think the jokes are necessarily that bad, though. However, I do feel that sometimes the jokes don't land as strong as maybe as the writers would maybe have hoped as I sit down and watch the episode. I think at times when I go there in the whole situation that the jokes may be a little bit over the top. So, um, with the whole situation and stuff. So with that being said, um, it's not a bad show, but it's an okay show. Let's just say that it's not like a I would. It's not right now one of the Marvel shows. I would say that. Um, let's just say it's not a show that I would wait every weekend to like. Oh, I'm gonna rush and watch She-Hulk today. But it's overall as a show, it's probably like a nice Sunday show. If I'm not doing anything in Disney Plus, I'll probably catch up with the rest of the episodes. Now, with that being also said, I do enjoy the cast. I think I am happy that the world's gonna find out about the fantastic actress that is Tatiana Maslany. She's one of my favorite actresses since Orphan Black. And I think she's just an incredible actress with amazing range. So the fact that she's able to land The Covenant of playing Jennifer Walters, I think, is a fantastic vehicle for her. And I'm very happy that a lot of the world's good to get to see her moving forward as she gets to be put in other shows as well as movies down the road for whether phases Marvel has. So to me, I've enjoyed her. I think she's been one of the most delightful moments in the television show. Um, but other than that, I think also some of the cameo appearances have been also well too. For when I've having Mark Ruffalo back as Bruce Banner to be able to kind of be able to flex his acting skills and be able to give you a little bit more extra time with that character as well. I think was fantastic, especially the way that both Tatiana Maslany and Ruffalo act together. You really do get that family bond as cousins that was kind of expressed in the comic books. Also, I've also enjoyed other characters as well. Her best friend in the show, which also has been really, really good. Even the father from from Perfect Strangers. If anybody remembers that '90s reference, congratulations! I just showed off my age. Yes.
You are the
So
youngest one here, Isaac.
yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, that says a lot. So yeah, so in terms of the actors and the people that have been even shown at this point, again, I'll admit to the rest of the audience, I haven't watched the rest of the show yet. I think the actors have been pretty decent, but and as well as the returning Benedict Wong, which has always been a crowd favorite, was good as well. But I guess in terms of the show. Um, I feel like I know that Disney kind of promoted this as a comedy slash lawyer show. It's supposed to be their kind of like their Ally McBeal of the MCU. And I won't say it doesn't. I don't feel like it lands any of it correctly. I think it's just kind of subpar for the case as we get. It's probably a decent show for people that watch it though, but for me. It feels like it just lands subpar as a lawyer show, as a comedy show, and it sometimes doesn't know where it is in terms of the MCU. So it's a little bit all over the place at the moment. From the episode now, again, there's more episodes that I have to watch. Hopefully, maybe the show might get a little bit better. But as it stands, that's where I'm at right now. It's a little subpar of a show.
Which episode are you up to?
All right, so the last episode I ended on was when Benedict Wong basically comes back to Jennifer Walters to sue for one of his former apprentices that ends up still in the sling wing, and then decides to bring little baby demons from wherever hell that was generated. So
Yeah, that's episode 4. Okay.
it was just the episode 4-1, and then on top of that, focus on Jennifer Walters' dating life, which, to be honest, was not really the best highlights of that show. I have to totally admit. I guess in terms of a Marvel person, you're looking for hopefully more Hulk smashing, which you did get it, and less dating life and life aspects of the show. So, again, going back to that, them trying to find the right balance right now. It just seems like the writers are right now trying to juggle 3 different sections of the show right now, and right now just feels a bit subpar.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That was something they were honestly struggling with while making the show, was trying to find how this show is to be presented and where they were going from there. Dave?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with him. I'm in like the middle of the road with this. I'm on record when I first saw the trailer for this saying that it looked like it was pushing the goofy aspect, but like major slapstick, beat you over the head with just nonstop comedy like Thor, the latest Thor movie. But I was pleasantly surprised with that it didn't go in that direction.
It's not that low.
No. But if I had a little nitpick, and I think we've talked about this, is that those first couple of episodes, they seemed like they were a tad too short. They could have went because they ended and you're like, what? It didn't feel like they were finished with that episode. You know what I mean? So like they suffered from being too short. I think they could have been an extra 5 to 10 minutes long. There was only one episode, because I've seen all 6. There was only one episode where I was like, why did we have this episode? Because I even looked at my daughter when we were watching it saying, what was this episode about?
Let me guess, episode 5?
Yes, that's the one. So, but overall, I've enjoyed it, but it's one of those things where, yeah, am I rushing to see it every week? No, like Isaac said, you could sit there and just let it build up and then maybe binge it and be done with it. You know what I mean?
It's not like a Loki.
No, not at all.
No, it is more definitely along the lines of a sitcom, and I think they've even had people come out and say, okay, this is the sitcom of the MCU. The MCU has done so many different genres, and this is the sitcom one, which, from my understanding, actually fits very well for this how the She-Hulk comics were written and presented. So, so I think 6 out of 9 episodes have now dropped, so we're over the halfway mark. We should be having some more things coming along soon. And because we do only have the 3 episodes left. And then we'll have our wrap up over here, and we'll gather around the campfire and discuss where the show went and our thoughts on that.
Well, let me ask you real quick before we go back. Do you see where the show is heading? You know what I mean? With 3 episodes left, what's the payoff? You know what I mean? Like that, there's no overall arc, in my opinion, like what the finish is going to be.
Well, I feel like the overall payoff right now for the people that watched the trailer is Daredevil at the moment, because unfortunately that been the hook that maybe Disney's kind of thrown. Now I don't know where their confidence was to show that maybe they had to kind of throw that little have to throw the bait into certain people to watch the show, because at the end of the day, they've teased it makes general sense for both those characters to kind of meet up together and to interact, because both of them are lawyers, and the comic books have been a very big interesting part. I think in the comic books, I believe Matt Murdock aka Daredevil, plays more of the paralegal side. I mean, plays more of a product. I can't even speak today. Prosecutor side of the show, while
Yeah, they're
Jennifer Walters
courtroom
is
adversaries.
they're adversaries, but in the superhero world, they do work together to solve cases and solve
Right.
issues and stuff like that. So that's the balance of the show. With also following that, I don't know, and then top of that, um, even with that tidbit, that's really the only reason I have to sadly say the only reason really I'm on the show. But even with that tidbit, it from what Matthew Cox have said in interviews, especially I know from DC 23, he's kind of mentioned that this do not expect this to be the same Daredevil that you saw from the Netflix shows.
Mm.
So with that being said, it's if again one of the hooks was hopefully you would get a decent part of that Matthew Murdock from the Netflix shows kind of easing in, and most importantly me for the person hopefully kind of edging closer into that more mature adult Marvels
Mm.
theme moving forward. That maybe Marvel kind of needs to take that next step of just slight maturity after the last couple of phases. I know the MCU likes to joke around and likes to kind of bust gags and stuff like that. I thought that would be the next step. Not to say that you can't have different actors show off their ranges in different forms of genres of action and comedy and drama and all that other stuff, though. But so we'll see. Again, like you said, three more. I have a lot more episodes to watch than the rest of our wonderful hosts. But again, where I stand, it has been kind of sub level for the stuff that I've watched.
Mm.
I unfortunately think that, and I hate to say this, but um, it's kind of been proven true, and even the show has made reference to it that they had to, or they felt they had to include the hook in the tease of the Daredevil showing up in the show to entice a certain demographic of fans that who, for whatever reason, because it's a female centric show and a female driven superhero show, would not be interested or would pass it by just for that fact and give the show a try. So they had to add in that hook. Kind of spoil the fact that, oh, look, Daredevil's going to show up in the show. I personally would have loved it if didn't know Daredevil was coming and we get to that episode and, oh my goodness, there he is. Not saying, oh, look, we finally got to this point.
Yeah, because the word would have got out, and the people that are Daredevil fans, if they wanted to see him in there, they could have just binged the whole entire She-Hulk and got satisfied that way too,
Right. But they're looking at more immediate numbers and not the long-term numbers.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's my take on it. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I feel that's why they did. I mean, you even had in the one episode, they were making fun of the fanboys who trashed the episodes or trashed the heroes just because they are female.
Mm.
We're not happy because of this, and you did that, and I'm not happy because of that.
Mm.
And the two things are the polar opposite. So I want you to do this, but when you do that, I don't like it. So I want you to do this, but you did that, and I don't like it. So they're going to attack out both ends of
I thought that moment, the one that you were talking about, the episode where they actually they ripped actual the social media and talk about the show, which again I think a lot of it has been ridiculous and very unwarranted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people didn't get it.
I mean, it's some for some of the male general audience that just seems to want to bash the show for the section of bashing the show. I think a lot of the people out there have been very idiotic, so I'll say that right off the bat. I think for people who misunderstand the show, For that, I think if there's one reason if you don't enjoy a show, I think you can actually have a respectable general opinion on that. But to bash it for just really stupid nonsense because of your masculinity and that you don't feel comfortable, I think is totally unwanted. I think that you have to be able to separate both reasons of why you don't really enjoy art, because again, all of this is subjective
Yeah.
to the viewer. So
Not every
I
show or movie is
get
going to be
that.
for every person.
Right, but unfortunately, we're in that social media area where it just seems like the trend, no matter how great the show or movie is, it's always going to fall victim to some kind of backlash for some reason, which, in most times it's not warranted, whatever the outcry is.
Right. Exactly. I mean, to me, Tatiana is doing a fantastic job carrying the show literally on her shoulders. And I just for her alone, I keep coming back to watch the show because she does such a great job. Like you said, Isaac,
Yeah.
watching her on Orphan Black. If you haven't seen that in your a little bit mature age, if you're watching She-Hulk, you probably are. It's on the BBC America website. You can stream it through their app.
Also, I want to add, she was also, I believe, on Perry Mason on HBO Max too, for people who, I think the classic Perry Mason reboot as well. She was also, I haven't had the opportunity to watch that show as well, but knowing her amazing talent, she was also on there as well. So I just want to throw that there as well.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. But She-Hulk, she's been Bite Size Halloween, 1 episode of that. 7 episodes of Power Trip. Orphan Black, the next chapter. I didn't see any of that stuff.
That is a audiobook continuation of the series.
Podcast series. Thank you. Yes. She does some voice work in the Troll Hunters, Rise of the Titans.
Ooh, she was in that. I didn't even know. I love those.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Troll Hunter series in general. Yes.
Yeah, I enjoyed those a lot.
Heard those are good. I haven't watched those either. Like Isaac said, the new Perry Mason, and she was in 8 episodes of that. Something called Pink Wall, Animals. Yeah, so she's done some stuff. Definitely worth checking out. Particularly Orphan Black for what she gets the recognition for. And that being said, it's time to recognize a fallen hero who's come back to life in his past. That makes sense. Let's move on to Andor. I think we should try and break this down over 3 episodes because to me, each episode is very different from the other one. You had the first episode, the second episode, the third episode, and I think they kind of need their own little talking about. I don't know, Isaac, if you want to talk about one particular episode first, or
So again, when it comes to Star Wars, the property, like I'll come to admit I would say I'm a casual fan of Star Wars. I wouldn't say versus our wonderful host Matthew and of course David Gelman. I think if you had the opportunity, if we were doing video, like if you like Gelman's decked out with Star Wars memorabilia in the background, ladies and gentlemen, so that kind of shows you the level Star Wars fan my man David has been for a little bit.
my lightsabers are displayed proudly in my living room. Yes.
Yeah.
So I won't say that I'm that same level of Star Wars fan. That being said, in terms of every Star Wars property that I have watched, I would have to say that Andor does give a completely different vibe, a completely different feel. After watching these 3 episodes, it does seem like this feels like the most mature, more darker, more gritty series up to this point of Star Wars. And I think we've mentioned a podcast a couple of backs ago when the first trailer dropped. and the way that it was shot cinematically, I think is a different take. Right now, I feel like it's one of the more better shot series out of all the Star Wars IPs up to date, in terms of just kind of gives a more grounded feel that really just kind of focuses on the people, because again, I believe that this is before Rogue One, where
Yes.
Andor is becoming the stowaway that later on becomes the rebellious hero. Later on, eventually, spoiler warning, sacrifices his life to get the blueprints. To
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers
Spoilers
on a movie that's been around
for 40 years.
Yeah.
So spoiler warning.
You've seen Rogue One.
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen Rogue One. Yeah.
Did you
Also,
see Solo?
I've not watched Solo. I've for reasons reasons not explained, but from what things that I've heard from people, so I've not watched Solo. That again, once again, that being said, um, again, I've really enjoyed even the maturity of the show right now. That it really does take a lot more of an adult or theme to the show, even though I do admit there were certain episodes where their interpretation of the reasons why Andor hates, I believe, the Empire in a lot of situations, um, I didn't really get in the beginning though, but in terms of concept, I understand his reasons for why he would hate the Empire the way that he does. And just to kind of highlight even the first episode, I don't know about you guys, but the first episode kind of gave me Blade Runner vibes in terms of just kind of the atmosphere and how that was set up in terms of the darkness and the way that he goes through the city, and just again the cinematic shots, and even the ambience and the soundtrack felt very, very Blade Runner like, which I feel like maybe the directors kind of took a little bit of bits and pieces of that, another sci-fi cult classic, and kind of incorporated it into some of the Star Wars lore, which I kind of felt was very interesting. Like for those first couple of episodes, for those first shot episodes anyway. So that being said, I'm enjoying it for what I see so far, and after that statement, I do feel that this is kind of a show that that Star Wars kind of needs at the moment, because of I know that for fans, again, I'm not against the lightsabers, I'm not against the aliens, I'm not against the cool ships, but I do feel like this show is trying to go sure theme and a demographic that I think Star Wars hasn't, I wouldn't say connects much to. I know it gets more to the fanboy in all of us in terms of the fantasy stuff, but this is a little more in they're almost a little bit of their Game of Thrones represented in this project so far.
Yeah, it's definitely not the more family oriented Star Wars film or Star Wars project, like everything that's come before it.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely more mature, much more grittier, more not being heavy adult, but more adultish, especially in its tones and some of the writing. It's I lost my train of thought. But I haven't seen Blade Runner, so I can't make the comparison on that end. But for people that complain about, why Star Wars seems like it's written for children, sorry, Dave. Yes, it is written for children. That's what George Lucas said. It's written for 12-year-olds, but filmed for adults.
That's fine. I'm a 48-year-old, 12-year-old.
Yes. It's it's definitely taking a different angle. One of the things, and I think this will go to what you're talking about visually, is this show is relying heavily on practical sets.
Yes.
Where Boba Fett and Mandalorian all have used the Void technology, so you primarily virtual sets, which works great and it looks amazing and fantastic. But as I've always said, and I've said this a long time, especially whenever the prequels came out, where you use digital instead of models, the eye knows the difference. For some reason, your brain knows the difference. It can tell that, okay, that's a digital image of a ship. That's a real model of a ship. There's a weight, just the way it looks, something about it. Your mind knows. Maybe not 100% of the time, but if you compare the two next to each other, you realize it. And, the fact that you have a reality of something works versus having something in a virtual way. Not saying it's bad. It's just I think works a little better.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that one of the director, one of the producers of this show, comes from the Bourne trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
So that will also
Tony Gilroy.
Yeah, Tony Gilroy worked on the Bourne stuff as well as Rogue One, which explains why it is more of a spy thriller in a fantasy world. And again, it starts off with the grittiness. In the first episode, we get Andor taking two guys out point blank. I mean, one of them point blank, the other one he bludgeons. Which should not be a surprise because the first time we saw him in Rogue One, he off somebody. So the character is still kind of the same. I think his motivation, at least at the beginning, keeps on saying he's looking for his sister, and that's kind of what I heard. That's kind of what leads him down this road that ends up, him being in the rebellion, or at this point, it's the budding rebellion. It's not even fully concepted yet. But as far as the Empire, we actually have not seen the Empire.
Nope.
Now this is a agency of the Empire, I guess is the best way to describe them. Dave?
Yeah.
Something like a Rent-A-Cops or something, part of the. Yeah.
As I heard Jim Hill saying that, a stormtrooper will just shoot somebody and move on.
Yeah.
They don't care. These guys, they shoot somebody, great. We have more forms and paperwork to fill out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's actually great. You bring that up too, because that's what I feel like that's another interesting part that intrigues me about this series, because again, it just seems like, once again, being very grounded, it just seems like your typical story of just oppressed people beginning to rebel against the Empire and the 1%ers that live on the top, and how they're being treated, and how the Empire's reign has kind of treated other planets of the galaxy. And I think what's going to be very interesting is how does the quote unquote Empire as it is eventually get involved with, I guess, the Sith aspect and the stormtroopers and the other stuff that how does that aspect get involved with Star Wars and lightsabers and all that other stuff, where it becomes the Empire that we all kind of been used to at this point? Because right now, like you said, it's just the more grounded aspect of just what comes off a bunch of Rent-A-Cops basically bullying other people in other galaxies at the moment, as if people have actually had the opportunity. It doesn't go so well for our poor goofy Rent-A-Cops.
Yeah.
Said series.
Bunch of guys running around in postal uniforms.
Hey, come on now.
Which I at the moment I feel offended by that.
Yeah.
You don't wear the uniform.
I'm a part, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking to 2 postal workers.
Yeah.
Please do not make fun of my brothers and sisters.
That's right. That's right.
United States Postal
Union,
Service.
stand together. Local 547.
Oh.
Execute Order 606. Anyway,
I don't know how much of the budding empire, or the building of the empire, we're going to get in this show. That's something that Bad Batch has actually been handling a lot of at the moment. And also Rebels and a touch in the Clone Wars, but primary Rebels and Bad Batch. They've been handling the budding empire, especially Bad Batch. That there's a lot of that's pretty much how that whole storyline. The first season and continuing, and now it's going to be the second season when that drops in January. This is more of an skirt type of thing, in how the rebellion is starting to going to be pieced together, different characters. I don't know how much as far as lightsabers or any of that type of stuff we're going to see, because at this point, to the best of anyone's knowledge, outside of Vader himself, really there's no lightsabers around, except for the occasional ones that we saw in Kenobi. But Kenobi's going to be 4 more years in the future. So this is pre-Kenobi, I believe.
No, I think this kind of focuses on the preludes of Rogue One, which again, if anybody has watched Rogue One, once again, really didn't have a lot of that until the end of that movie. Again, it was Rogue One was pretty much also very well grounded and dark, and with its time.
Yeah.
And that's Rogue One. The only lightsabers we see are towards the end.
Towards the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't expect this series to really touch on anything Force related, anything Jedi Assist related. I think this is simply your typical showcase of people getting fed up with the Empire, about to rise and begin to mobilize. And of course, they're basically seeing our main protagonist, played by Diego Luna, be able to kind of take his spot, come in the more legendary rogue hero, freedom fighter. That I guess it gets, which I believe gets mentored by Skarsgård, which everybody's favorite Skarsgård kind of pops up in the series. Good
No
old.
wonder he's so in touch with all the Celestials.
Solid Skarsgård. So, yeah.
But,
so I think it's amazing.
Yeah, for me, like just riding off the Rogue One high, that was when I remember when that movie came out. It's a movie outside of Star Wars, so I didn't know how well I was going to take to that, because there's really no Force mention, there's no lightsabers, no nothing like that until the end, and it knocked it out of the park.
The Force is one with me.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that was, but that was it. I don't think he was a Force wielder, that guy, but So, I was hoping that this was the series that I was highly anticipating, but I was wondering how they're going to pull off the episodes without any of that. And so far, the first 3 episodes have been, I dig it. I enjoy it. I think it's well written. They have a great group of actors, the cast, even the B2 emo new robot that's in there. I love him. It's just, what am I going to say? Now I lost my train of thought. Thank you, Matt.
Welcome.
It's past everybody's bedtime here, ladies.
Yeah.
I've only been up since 4:45 this morning.
Yeah.
Our brains are slowly starting to die off right now. If you could actually see the brain, the battery icon hitting at 5%, 4. No, I understand. Yeah, I honestly, out of all of the Star Wars properties, this is the one I've been most engaged with, because I know it doesn't involve all the fun things that everybody has come to enjoy with Star Wars. I do a story that really does focus on just general people.
Yeah.
not. I don't know if I've been very vocal about the Skywalker saga of things, which I still believe it still is a part of the Skywalker saga because of where things are headed in terms of the dates. I've always felt like Star Wars was generally a bigger. I always wanted Star Wars to kind of explore the other sections of the galaxy, and again, the Skywalker saga has been its most popular story being told. It's basically its bread and butter at this point. But I've always wanted to know that Star Wars, a name like Star Wars is being big in general, tells about other stories from the galaxy, how everything plays in together. So to kind of really have a big a story focused on this particular moment in time and these particular characters, to me, I think once again continue to expand on something that's outside of the Skywalker area. Now,
Right.
Rogue One kind of ties that back into it, but then you get a chance to kind of explore all these other actors
And
show
and yeah, and they're doing that. I mean, they've already introduced 3 other planets already in this. And the Cassian Andor timeline is just wide open. I mean, we obviously know what his arc ultimately goes to.
He's not dying in this episode. we know
Right.
he's not dying in this episode. Sorry, Kate. Sorry, shouldn't have said that.
But they have this big sandbox they can play with, man, and they can go anywhere with it. You know what I mean?
They have a lot of, yeah, and I feel like this. I feel like with particularly me, I feel like you said, going on to that, I feel like there's a better room to play in the sandbox versus Kenobi, which was very way too contained, and for me as the Star Wars casual fan that I am, but this I feel like has a lot more a little bit, and to really kind of play with concepts again. To the later halves of the film.
Obi-Wan, everything was barely established, and you were just filling in a small segment of the storyline with characters that you knew their fates, the beginnings, you knew their ends, and now you're just getting a little more of the middle. Just do fan service. For this one, you know the end. You only have maybe hints of some of the stuff that we're going to be touching on in Andor. But as for the character himself, maybe besides some stuff that was written in books that I'm unaware of, we really know nothing.
Yeah.
About him. So you kind of have that clean slate. Like you were saying, it's a rather large sandbox, and in a galaxy far, far away, we mostly, like you said, during the Star Wars saga movies, only touch on a small part of this galaxy. Now with all the stuff that we've expanded into with Mandalorian, not so much with Boba Fett, but Mandalorian, Rebels definitely, and Bad Batch, we're pushing that out. Even Fallen Order, because Fallen Order is canonical. There's a lot more that we've gotten to explore about other worlds, other cultures, other characters, and adding more and more depth to the lore of Star Wars, and really pushing out that galaxy. It's not just contained to 3, 6, or 9 movies now.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see, and again, I think not getting away from the Jedi and the whole Force aspect. Yes, the Force is everyone; it grows within us. It life force of everything within the universe. Fantastic. As Han Solo once said, it's a hokey old religion.
Yeah, but it's a nice break from all of that. Like I'm the first one that loves all the forces and the lightsabers and all that stuff like that. But
fantastic.
But this is a nice break from that. We've been beaten over the head with all this stuff. Again, I love it, but this is just a nice break in a different zone of the Star Wars lanes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So episode 1 establishes Andor, kind of the world, kind of the pace not so much the pacing, but kind of how the look and the feel of everything. And I honestly think that's as much as I can say about episode 1.
Yeah, it almost got like a Book of Boba Fett. I hate to bring that up, but it almost got like a Book of Boba Fett feel with all the flashbacks when he went back to Kanari to show, his, when he was a teenager and stuff like that. Like, because they kept doing the flashbacks, and I'm sitting there going, please, let's not this whole show be about flashbacks.
No, and here's a question: was Cassian having those flashbacks, or are we having those flashbacks?
I just think I don't think I think we're having those flashbacks, but again, it's needed to establish the protagonist's reasons of why he would want to join this starting to form rebel alliance against the Empire, and you needed those flashbacks to establish his drive.
Right.
What makes him different?
What's his reasoning? And I think it is important to have flashbacks. Again, I depending on how shows are done, I think it could be a little bit overdone.
Right.
Not well done. And
Right.
Here, it's well established. It's a simple mechanism tool to get the audience to kind of, okay, I get his reasoning, and I get and why he would want to join this rebel alliance to begin
Not
with.
just that, and I think there's a very important thing that we got out of the flashbacks, and they didn't beat us over the head with it just yet. Is that what is one of the first things we hear him say? He's talking to this woman at this gentleman's club, for lack of better terms, that he is looking for his sister.
Mm-hmm.
In those flashbacks, he is being tailed by his sister, and he keeps pushing her off. We find out 2 episodes later after the first one, what happens to him. We don't find out what happens to her, and I think that haunts him.
Yes.
Which is weird that, it looks like it's approximately 15 to 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And is he still on that same quest? Is he just starting that quest? We don't know that part yet. But I think it was very important to point out that in those flashbacks, and I'm going to say that the flashbacks are for us, not part of his story, not part of something he was currently going through at that time. Like in Book of Boba Fett, anytime he went to the bathroom tank, we got a flashback.
Yeah, exactly.
It was specifically Boba Fett having those flashbacks, and we were watching them, and it pushed him in his journey. This is okay. You need to know this piece of information about this character and how he ended up where they were. If anything, it was Mother having the flashbacks, and she was reliving the story about how he came to be on that planet in this situation and everything, her involvement. And I think we're done with it at this point. I don't know because we haven't seen episode 4 yet, but as of episode 3, they've tied up that line.
Right. And that's what I was happy about, because I'm like, yeah, the flashbacks were really well done, and it got to the point. And I understand, like, they were using that to establish why he was looking for his sister and all that stuff. But I don't know how many episodes we got. 28. I don't need 28 episodes of flashbacks.
24. You have 24 episodes.
24. Sorry, I don't need 24 episodes.
21 episodes left.
To jump in, I don't think I don't agree. It'd be very redundant to continue to go back to the past. However, I don't think we're going to be totally done with those flashbacks, because we still have to understand the fate of what happened to that planet.
Right.
But
true.
They were referencing something unique regarding
something, because they hint that basically that planet does get obliterated by the Empire due to the events that happen in these 3 episodes. It kind of hints pretty much well what goes down. Again, I don't want to ruin things though, but yeah.
Mm.
So I do know we're going to have to go. There's gonna, unfortunately, there's still gonna be a couple of more flashbacks, so we gotta have to see. But
Well, I think there's
but
something
it's good.
important
Again,
here
it's
that
important for the story.
Yeah.
I think there's something important here that we haven't talked about. But they showed us in those flashbacks. So when they talked about the planet being inhabitable, that there was a mining accident and wiped everybody out, but we have this small tribe of children that are running around it. When the Empire ship crash lands, they all have gas masks on, but you notice that they were looked like
Yellow.
yes.
Well, that's the part I didn't want to reveal, but since you're talking about it, you
that's
might
good.
as well talk about it. Get into
Spoiler alert. Spoiler.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, most likely you've seen the episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
If not, go back and watch them because we're going to get to some more details. So, but the kids were fine. Now, was it something on the ship or was it something on the planet that affected these people?
Yeah.
When the I can't. I wish I remember the mother's name.
Now the person that, again, since we're getting into
Marva.
Marva, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Marva Andor.
Okay.
Portrayed by Fiona Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
Getting spoiler territory.
Yeah, from the Harry Potter movies. And Petunia. She they were wearing gas masks. They did take them off on the ship briefly. So it just kind of makes you kind of wonder the whole situation.
I was a little confused by that
Yeah.
moment because since you're touching on it, first of all, the woman that got, unfortunately gets killed by all of a sudden a pop in Empire dude that just kind of pops out of nowhere, almost like it was a zombie like situation. So I will admit I was a little confused in that particular moment because
I took it that he was just knocked unconscious and
decided to decided to wake up until he was killed again. But yeah, that there were some parts that were a little not well explained.
Yeah, cool. Well, that ship was that was the ship that you saw in the sky that was on fire, right? And then it crashed land.
Yes.
So obviously something might have happened to it in space, maybe, and a space battle or something, and then it crash landed on that planet. And we've yet to know. Maybe that's going to be some of the flashbacks to come back to explain all that stuff. So
coolant leak, Captain. We have a coolant leak.
Yeah.
Need to check the warp core. Sorry, Bone Show.
We're leaking Freon.
The other thing I think, and they quickly show it, and then tell us anything about it. But again, sometimes just seeing it tells us more than if someone was actually verbally telling us. The abandoned and damaged quarry, which to me remind me a lot of that quarry from Bad Batch. There was that one episode that they were in that one rock quarry area that they had to get through. Probably completely different, but it reminded me a lot of it. So you have those pieces from the flashback. So there's a lot of key things out of that versus like Boba Fett that was just backstory, more backstory. It was more the story than the actual current time story going.
Right.
May I interject? Another thing too that I've also noticed, in especially off the first episode, I noticed that both of Andor and I think the gentleman that Rupert Vastrot, who basically talks to Serial, played by Kyle Soller. I noticed that in that episode, it seemed like a lot of people were making stories on both ends, just to cover up what happened in first episode, which was weird. Like that was how the whole episode. I don't know if you know how that episode starts off. Like people are just kind of, I want to say excuses, but making up stories of the events that has taken place. Again, it blows up to something bigger where people find out exactly what happened. But in that first episode, both Andor and then switching onto the other end of the Empire side, where like the sergeant talks about what happened. It just seemed like everybody was just kind of making tales to basically cover up what actually happened. So I don't know if that part strangely plays into something. I don't know. It's just something I noticed in the first episode. It doesn't really carry on to the other two. That I thought that was kind of to me how that episode started off. Am I just gonna get more people just making up stories, and then I guess as the series goes along, we get to kind of find out the reasons why. Yeah, I apologize. It's just something that I've noticed where that particular
No, I
actor.
kind of know what he's like. He didn't want him to shoot him in the face, and he was just like, "No, we'll say it was an accident. He tripped and fell or something." And then the main cop boss was like, "Nah, just too much red tape.
We'll just make up a story." And but that subtle theme continues on through that episode.
Yeah.
Even Andor goes to his friend. He goes to his friend's like, this is not what happened. What really happened was this.
Right.
It seems like they were all covering stories until it gets up to Philly on the
then
Shar, where it's like you're BSing. You're BSing.
Yeah. The story.
I taught you that.
The theming of, or the continuing theme of fabrication of stories or rewriting stories has been very heavy so far in this. One of the major underlining themes of this series so far, because even the main protagonist, and I forget his name, but I actually find him very interesting. The way that he's portrayed and his motivation that this one man needs to be brought to justice.
Cyril or whatever his name is.
Cyril.
Yeah. I didn't get his character. I don't know what his end game is.
His end game is himself.
Right. Like he looks like but the thing is he wanted to get to the bottom of it, but when it got into the action, it didn't look like he didn't want to get to the bottom of it. You know what I mean?
In his head, what was going to happen? Because his CEO who came in and said, "Okay, you're in charge. I want this to go away, and I don't want to hear anything more about it."
Right.
And that's not what he wanted to hear. So in his mind, what's going to happen is he's in command. He is going to use the might that is under him, the power of this organization, of all the rent-a-cops possible. They're going to bring this man to justice. And you will parade him in front of his commanding officer and look, I found the guy, and justice has been served, and we've rectified the problem, and we displayed our strength. And that's it. When they get to the planet, because they go in with this air and of pomp and circumstance of them coming in there and dropping in, and here we are. Citizens, get out of our way. And if you want to file a formal complaint, you can do that. Mm-hmm. But we are in charge, and you must respect us. We wear the uniforms. And they were just expecting to walk in, show off their muscle, which, if you look at them, none of them really have much of it.
Right.
Gape Cassian, and leave. And that would be it. No shots fired. Just them showing off. They are. Once things start going sideways and more people are dying, he starts to panic because his plan has now completely fallen apart. And now he actually has to answer for all of these actions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he didn't expect to do that.
Right.
But now he's really going, oh shoot, I'm screwed up. Now I've caused more of a problem. My butt's on the line. I
Yeah.
need to rectify this, and it keeps getting worse for him.
Mm.
So, it's one thing to play soldier in your mind. It's another thing to actually be on the forefront.
Yeah.
And once he gets on that forefront, he has no idea what to do because he's never probably fired a blaster in his life in self-defense.
Mm. He'll mess around and get choked out by Vader.
Pretty much.
To jump onto that, I think again another story plot that they're adding with the Cyril character is simply I think they want to add this cat and mouse aspect that I think
Yes.
that we're definitely going to see within the series because they kind of create that character that's very ambitious and wants to kind of move up in his job and really to be able to be noticed about serving justice. Again, this is the other half of the empire that he's a part of the 1%, a part of the machine that's controlling a lot of the galaxy. So I think with again that whole first 3 episodes, they want to establish this rivalry that's going to be played between both him and Andor as the series goes along. So I think they're going to really definitely build on his character, and I definitely see him. I think where I think he's either going to be in the position of that he continues to go down the road for the sake of justice, quotation marks, um, in order to pursue the greater good, or I feel like if he continues to go more down the rabbit hole and see where maybe the empire's not what it claims to be and see more of its corruption side that he may end up flipping as maybe the series goes along. I think that he's that type of character that could either switch between, like, depending on where his self-righteousness and his justice is, he could either flip to maybe join in with Rebel Alliance in some form of way, or he just continues to go down the road to kind of pursue his, I guess, his career ambitions and stuff. That's the way to set it up.
From my understanding, I think he stays one of the protagonists, and there's actually going to be another one that's introduced. That their sole purpose.
Cyril becomes
Cyril, yeah, and then there's going to be someone else that they their main goal it becomes his mission that he's out to get Andor to the only way that he can see to rectify things is to get Andor. I don't believe. I mean, again, I don't know anything. This is just what I've heard from interviews and stuff. That's his focus, and that's where he's going. So we shall see where this all ends. Something I wanted to bring up though. So we got the 3 episodes. The first episode, to me, the pacing was extremely slow. It was a 30, say probably a 35, 32-minute episode, not including the credits. That felt like an hour and a half, 2-hour episode to me. I'm not sure how you guys felt about that.
No, it went by quick for me. I get the slow pace that it was, but for me, it went by. It didn't feel, when it ended, I was, it wasn't like I felt like it was shortchanged. It was like, okay, let's get to another episode and see where we go on that.
I found though myself a couple times during the episode, I'm like, hey, can we just move on? But in some ways, also mirrored a lot of the first episode of Mandalorian.
Yes.
Yeah. Again,
stranger walks into a town to shake the establishment. It goes with some people, and some people end up a little beat up.
It does. I will agree. It does follow. It does seem that that's kind of Star Wars MO at the moment. Start off very, very slow. Establish a lot of the main players in the show and following throughout the show, and then we'll establish more of the action set pieces. But again, I don't, even with that being said, I really do think this is going to be a lot more of a slower paced show because I don't think a lot of it is going to pertain a lot of action. I think a lot of its action is going to be within its dialogue and the chess match pieces and the cat and
Yeah.
mouse aspects that this show is trying to establish. I think it's going to be a lot of more of the dialogues of wits and where these people are in the spectrum on the opposite sides of being the oppressor or the people that don't believe that they're oppressor, what they're trying to bring, and people that are oppressed. And I think this is going to be a show where I believe try to show multiple points of perspective and why everybody believes that they're right. And if the show does a great job of it, maybe you get to see all those perspectives. Now, again, because you're working within a finite, even though this is a good big sandbox to play within, you're working with a finite time, exactly how everything ends. So I do think this show makes, in terms of especially the Empire, that may try their best to convince fans of why, hey, these are the reasons why we're doing the things that we are doing.
Right.
Because in war, everybody believes that they are the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody sees themselves as villains. So I
It,
think the show's going to sit down and play around with that territory.
it was smart of them to release the 3 episodes, because if they had just released that 1 episode and called it a day, I think there would have been a backlash on it. You know what I mean? Too
Because
slow.
my wife
Too
has already
this, too
said
that.
she's given up on it. I'm like, no, you need to see the other 2.
Yeah, because when you watch all 3 of them and at like if you binge them and watch them all 3 in a row with that 3rd episode, you're like, oh, okay, we're going somewhere. This is know.
It's like I said, it's like that steam engine. It's got okay. We're moving a
Right.
little bit in the first one. We're starting to get a little bit of a pace in the second one. That third one, we're hitting it running.
Mhm.
That third one is just like okay, now
Yep.
I'm in.
Mhm.
Sit me down. This is going to be quite the ride. I mean, I think you're right, Isaac. I think this is not going to be blasters and lightsabers, all the time. It's not that type. It is more of the political spy thriller
Yes.
that, um, like the Bourne movies or some others, some of the other, the Jack Ryan type of stuff, where it is the political and the strategic chess match of one out trying to outwit the other one and stay one ahead, with the occasional conflict, because you need a good action scene to really help keep moving things along.
Right.
Of
But you're
course,
not
yeah.
going to get that all the time constantly. Like, in these 3 episodes, you had a little bit at the first episode. That was it. You had a little bit in the second episode where we had the kids attacking the one Empire person.
Mhm.
But that was it. And then in the third one, you had the much bigger conflict, in the warehouse, and then through the town, which again, establishing pace and everything like that. So that was your bigger one. I don't, and then it's probably going to skim down again, zooming into the 4th episode and 5th episode, and then it's going to be that rise and fall that every so often we get a big battle or conflict. But then otherwise, it's going to be the strategic positioning of stuff and this character getting manipulated or manipulating and finding stuff out, and all the cogs and pieces falling into place, which I think is going to be fascinating and very interesting. I'm looking where this is all going. We have 9 more episodes for this first season, and then we're going to have the 12 episodes for season 2 that lead right into.
No, again, I think overall, from what I've watched, I think it is, like I said, I think this is going to be very a fascinating journey into what Star Wars has to offer right now. And again, like this is going to give them a chance to kind of expand on their storytelling in what they can do within the Star Wars universe. So I am looking forward to kind of a more grown, a more mature show. Like Star Wars says, like you said, like what David said, the the aspect that we all love. It's it's kids for adults, you know, in a sense in terms of fantasy. But this looks like this is going to be a big boy show where, like, yeah, this isn't going to involve too much of action. This is going to involve dialogue and wit and
Mhm.
a sense of.
But it's excellent. It's written excellently. I mean, you know, it's the dialogue and everything. It's you know, they did a bang up job with that. So if that's what we're getting, then it's going to be fabulous. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to everything. Do you guys want to rate the 3 episodes?
Yeah. And I'm happy they took out Tim, because that guy, I don't know, I didn't like that character. I'm like,
I don't think you were supposed to. But again, it gives her that. I'm still trying to figure out everyone's names because everyone's got a British or Scottish accent. So, wait, what? You need a name tag. What's your name tag?
yeah.
Oh, great. It's in Airbrush. Bix.
Yes.
Right. She was Bix.
Bix, yeah.
Yeah, Bex.
She's only in 4 episodes.
Really? She's only in 4 episodes? Wow. I figured
IMDb, which could be changed.
Yeah, I figured she would have a bigger role in that.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Lutheran Real is in 11, and obviously because he was in the first episode, so he's in the rest.
Okay, good.
Cassian, obviously he's in every episode, but I don't understand why, but he's in every episode. Mon Mothma is going to be in 9 episodes.
So she's going to be in from here on out then. And what about Saw Gerrera? We still haven't seen him.
9 episodes, but they're saying from 22 to 23. So for Diego Luna, they specifically say 24 episodes. So is she 9 episodes this season, or chunk this season and chunk next season? Well, they haven't filmed next season. Okay, no. She is in 9 episodes this season. For 8 episodes this season, they're predicting the first episode for next season. So you kind of can see where people are going to be popping up and disappearing. Sorry, your emo is only in the first 3 episodes.
Aw, that's it? He's out?
Yeah. More emo.
Man.
Nothing like an emo droid.
How do you create a cool droid and then just write him out of it in 3 episodes? That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
Yeah, oh no, I like that part though. He's strung along, and then these wild little warthog things come up and starts peeing on him. He zaps them with the little electric.
See, that's Star Wars, man. You know, where a droid has to shock something. You know. But the laser blast, man, from those guns, you know, I don't know, they put some extra oomph into those bad boys. It's not like the stormtroopers' little pew pew guns, man. These things, I felt when I was watching it with my surround sound, I felt like I was in there, like ducking.
Well, it's something in this, again, more going into the details that they put into stuff. Cassian's blaster, when he cocks it, the whole front mechanism moves, and there's more of a kinetic momentum to it to give it that more emphasis, like an old revolver.
Yeah.
So like an old revolver that has the barrel in it. So when you cock the hammer, the barrel rotates. Same thing with this thing. It gives that more definitely Western grittiness and just power behind it, like a Magnum.
Yeah.
Versus the more refined, modern weapons of the stormtroopers and stuff. Even Han Solo's blaster, where there's none of that kinetic motion and just power that's behind them. When they just shoot them. That's it. There's more to it. So yeah, it's the first, it's like the noisy cricket from Men in Black. Tiny little thing, but what a punch! All right, so on a scale of 1 to 10, episode 1, how would we rate this?
Personally, I feel like it's a little too early for ratings because I feel like things can change dramatically
Oh,
depending on the shows. But I mean, for the sake of you bringing it up, a decent. I'd say it's a decent 9. Again, I've enjoyed this to me as a guy who finds sometimes the sabers and all that stuff maybe a little bit too much at this point. I think a different change of pace warranted. So I'll give it for a 9 for its decent at the moment. Story, not bad.
okay.
We got for the all 3 together, or just the first episode?
I'm just saying first episode.
Okay. I'll give that one. See, I enjoyed that one. I give it an 8.5.
I'm going to lowball it and go with the 7 on it.
Oh, boo.
Well,
You got to be different.
That's an understatement. Like I said, for me, that it was just. I've always said that I wonder my Disney Plus shows that have a few extra minutes. I felt this one I could have used a few less minutes. It just was really just kind of hard for me to get into that. Episode 2, on the other hand, Isaac.
Oh no, all of them are 9.
Nines. Right down.
I'm not
Beautiful.
gonna waste any time. They're all 9s at the moment. I thought that, again. I think again, it's really hard to kind of separate them as a collective. I think again, the whole reason why you have all these shows together, because like you have to be able to tell that story correctly. Like you said, if they like Dan, like David said, if it were to cut off of that episode, I could see moans and groans about it. So
Mhm.
I think it's best that you connect it to all together in terms of being able to connect the story. Because like you said, Matt, the first episode was a little bit slow, which again also has been, and I could understand the reason why you wouldn't want to shave a couple of minutes off on the first episode. It was a little slow, and it seems to also be slightly a big issue with Star Wars. Star Wars, I think and
It's a
just
Disney Plus thing. I wouldn't just say.
Disney Plus things in general. It's
Yeah.
a Disney Plus thing. So so to kind of have it on its own merit, I just think altogether. But I think once you got into the first 2 episodes, and it really, especially the last episode when it really started to pick up within the action and intrigue, I think altogether it was a decent start. I think it was a decent start. So I give it a 9 for all.
Dave, then episode 2.
2. Yeah, I'm gonna stay consistent. 8.5.
You guys are so boring.
Well, because like 1 and 2 kind of like they flowed
Right.
together. You know what I mean?
Well,
They
so
were
far,
good.
All 3 of them have flowed nicely, but
Right.
Kenobi did the same thing. Episode 2, myself, I will give it an 8.
Mhm.
You can see where I'm going with this.
It's going up. So
Huh?
episode 3 is gonna be a 9. 7, 8, 9.
Stop looking at my papers.
For me, episode 3 was a 9 for me. I loved that up. That was like, okay, there's my payoff. We're good.
That's why I said before. Episode 3. All right, my chips are all in at this point. It took 2 episodes to get there, but we got there in my mind. You definitely need those building blocks. I felt we got more building blocks in episode 2 than we did in 1 to justify 1. But I do understand why we had episode 1.
Right.
That world builder, that introductory. Here is life before everything hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
This is the world. This is the life. This is how things happen. These are some of the characters. These are some of the characters you'll run into. This is some of the stuff that's going on. Oh, and by the way, here comes the change.
Yeah.
I love that we have a scrapping yard area. Just it was something that we explored in Fallen Order, and we haven't really. We got a little hint of it, not even. But you got some ideas of in Force Awakens when Rey is going through scrapping through the fallen Star Destroyers and getting pieces and selling them. This is a much grander scale. This is a more official scrapyard. They are deconstructing ships and taking pieces apart and salvaging and reselling the pieces and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is the way that people live. But I loved how in episode 3, where let me step it back. I love how episode 2 begins, where we get that guy with the drums.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All the previews, and
Yeah.
they just start episode 2 off, and here he is banging on the drums, and that's how you start the day. He bangs the drum, and that's how you end the day.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Time to punch in and punch out with that bad boy.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then, but in the third episode, where you had the whole town doing that, and that there's more meaning behind it. There's a way of communicating and saying, okay, here's the plan. This is what we're doing. Gets the whole town involved and stuff. I thought that was very fascinating. And then Marva saying, when you hear it, you start wondering and you start anticipating and you know something's coming. But when you don't hear it, time to be worried.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was it's the time for reckoning, and I thought that best line I think so far for the entire show.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the time for reckoning. It just the way that you put that down, that was beautiful. So yeah, definitely a 9, and I am looking forward to where we go from here. I know we still have quite the journey ahead of us, but it is going to be, if anything, a fantastic journey.
Mm-hmm. It's a great start, and there's still a bunch of characters that haven't even shown their faces yet. So
we have
it's
a lot of stuff that hasn't shown up yet. There's still more protagonists. There's still more sympathizers, more friends, more supporters that we're going to run into. And Selvig, oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just episode 3 for me was the wholesaler. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand why you can't start with that episode, but for me, it's like, okay, this is the beginning of it.
Right.
Adventure.
I'm just happy that it looks like it's going to be a success, because just riding off that Rogue One high, you don't want this to sully what Rogue One is.
No, and at the moment, I don't think we will.
No, I don't think so either.
No. Any final thoughts, Isaac?
No final thoughts. Good show. I think it's a good start off to see where we go with this. So yeah.
All right, Dave.
Final thoughts. No, I think we're good. It's just, like I just said, the future of the show should be bright, based on those 3 episodes. So, hold the pattern. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm not expecting them all to be like this episode 3.
No, not at all.
Peaks and valleys. Again, we have 21 more episodes to go. We know that it's a concrete number. So there's going to be some that are much more exciting and that's going to pull us in more. There's some that's going to be a little slower. That's going to establish things, and it's going to take time to establish them. But in any good story, you take your time, just like a fine painting. Those parts that you can canvas over quickly, and then there's other parts that the fine details and the things that really help create the picture on a whole that take longer to finesse and to put in there properly, and you just every little stroke serves a purpose to the tapestry. But it takes time, and sometimes it's the smallest details that take the longest.
Right, and to that point, that's why I think maybe the first 2 episodes could be considered slow-ish, because they know they have 24 episodes to tell this story, so they can spread it out and make sure they don't miss anything. Yes.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm looking forward to everything from here on out.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
There's a lot more cool things coming, and I cannot. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, and talking soon.
Yes, thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Thank you again to Isaac and Dave for joining me this week as we discuss the first, well, not one, not two, but 3 parts of Andor on Disney Plus. What do you think of Andor? What are your thoughts, your anticipations? Is it meeting your expectations? Let us know. Join the conversation on the socials. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/WDMagicCast. On Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, we're also found at WDMagicCast. You can make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well this week. You can also get the audio version, and we'll be getting some other content up there shortly. You can leave us a voice message through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website and be heard here on the show yourself. We will play it here. If you don't want to do it on there, record it electronically on your computer, laptop, smart device, tablet, phone, you name it, and email it to email@WDMagicCast. If you have any questions or suggestions that you may have for the show or like to answered on the show, please send it to that address as well. email@WDMagicCast.com. Links to all these are in the show notes. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have, how crazy life is, hence why this episode was a little behind in the scheduling, but we got it to you anyway. I cannot thank you enough for everything you, the listener, do for us here. If I could just ask, please share out. Let people know that you're listening. Share the links on social. Tell people about it. Tell other people that you see are into Disney or Star Wars or Marvel or whatnot. Let them know about the WD Magic Cast. You could also do this by going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a rating on there. Right now, we have all 5-star reviews. Truly, truly blessed. Thank you. It does not go unnoticed and unappreciated here on our end. Me and my co-hosts, we are thankful for you and everything you've done and given to us, and let us keep going. And it really means a lot whenever, since we can't see you, whenever you tag the episodes, you join in conversations online, or you leave us reviews, is how we get the response, and it really helps us keep going. Thank you. Again, tell your friends, let people know, because the more people that join this family, the better it is. Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when a new episode comes out. While you're at it, though, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Truly help the show out this way. You can do this over at anchor.fm/WDMagicCast/support, or find our Patreon page. Also, check out our merchandise shop with some fun WD Magic Cast stuff on it. You can find the links to all these in the show notes as well, because remember, the show is brought to you by listeners like you. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever darkness, whatever troubles are weighing on you, do not give up. You are not alone, and you are not unwanted. There is someone out there who is ready to lend a hand or an ear or whatever you need. Sometimes it takes some time to find them, and help doesn't always come when you feel it's needed, but when it is truly needed. And it may not be something that you recognize or the help that you expect, but it'll be the help that you need. Never give up, never give in. Be your own hero, and let the world see how special and wonderful you truly are. Now I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. Children are more intelligent today because of their experience is greater. Exposure and schools are better. They have access to visual education in schools. The imagination of the teacher is supplemented by the best visual aids. She, in turn, is stimulated and gets as much out of the films as the students does. And that's Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.